Welcome to the deep dive. The challenges, well, they just keep evolving for SMB tech and cyber leaders, don't they? It really demands we stay ahead.
It certainly does.
Today, we are digging into the 2025 Data Breach Investigations report, the DBIR. Massive study. They looked at over 22,000 security incidents.
And more than 12,000 confirmed data breaches.
So our mission here is to pull out what's absolutely critical for you, the SMB leader. Understanding the key threats and, importantly, the actionable steps.
And right away, one thing jumps out from this year's report. Third-party involvement in breaches. It's doubled.
Doubled.
Up to 30% from 15% last year. And this isn't just data processors. It includes vendors running critical parts of your operations.
So think beyond just where data is stored.
Definitely. The MOVEit vulnerability was a stark reminder of how software vendor issues can ripple outwards. For SMBs, this trend is critical. It means your security boundary effectively extends to every single vendor you use.
Which makes vetting so much more important.
It's non-negotiable. You need to look hard at the security outcomes vendors provide, have plans for repeat offenders, really scrutinize their hosting environments.
And how they connect to your environment, too.
That's key. Strong network segmentation, strict access control for vendor connections, and rigorous authentication. Think complex passwords, API key aging, mandatory MFA.
That leads us to the Snowflake breach example. That wasn't a Snowflake vulnerability per se, was it?
No, it was about compromised credentials used against the platform, impacting about 165 organizations. Crucially, MFA wasn't universally enforced.
And the report mentioned something about those credentials.
80%. 80% of the leveraged accounts had already shown up in previous credential exposures.
Wow. So it really underlines that shared responsibility model. You can't just outsource the risk completely.
You have security obligations, even with third parties. You must proactively assess their security limits, understand where their responsibility ends and yours begins.
Okay, so third parties are a huge growing factor. What else is shifting?
Vulnerability exploitation. It's significantly up as an initial way in for attackers. Reached 20%.
Getting close to credential abuse levels then.
Approaching it. That's a 34% increase from the previous year. And specifically, attacks targeting edge devices and VPNs. They saw an almost 8-fold increase.
8-fold? That's alarming. That accounts for, what, about a fifth of those exploitations?
About 22%, yeah. And the patching picture isn't great either. Only about 54% of those specific edge vulnerabilities were fully remediated.
And the time it took?
Median time was 32 days. That's a month-long window attackers are actively using. We also saw espionage actors leveraging vulnerability exploits 70% of the time.
So state-sponsored groups are really focusing there. What about the speed of exploitation? CPF-Coaching lists vulnerabilities are often exploited quickly.
The median time for mass exploitation of CPF-Coaching is still around 5 days. But for the edge devices in this DBIR data subset, it was 0 days for 9 out of 17 specific vulnerabilities.
0 days, instant exploitation. So for SMBs, the action here is clear.
Absolutely. Prioritize patching, especially anything internet-facing. Your edge devices first. You need to understand your internet exposure, have a robust vulnerability management and remediation process.
And segmentation again, to limit the blast radius if something does get missed.
Network segmentation is crucial to contain breaches if a patch can't be applied immediately.
Okay, so exploitation is rising fast, but you mentioned credentials earlier, still the top dog.
Stolen credentials remain the most common initial access vector. The InfoStealer malware data is interesting here.
How so?
Well, 30% of compromised systems found in those logs were enterprise licensed systems. Okay, that makes sense. But 46%, nearly half of the systems showing corporate logins, were actually non-managed devices.
So personal devices, BYOD, or maybe company laptops used for personal stuff.
Likely one or both. It throws the risks of BYOD and device misuse into sharp relief for SMBs. You need policies and technical controls.
And it's not just user credentials, right?
Secrets and code. That's another persistent headache. Exposed secrets, API keys, database credentials, cloud infrastructure secrets popping up in public code repositories.
Which ones are most common?
Web application infrastructure secrets were found most often, about 39%. And for development secrets specifically, GitLab tokens made up half of what was leaked.
And how quickly do these get fixed?
The median time to remediate leaked secrets found in GitHub repositories was 94 days.
94 days. That's a massive window of opportunity for attackers.
It really is.
Okay.
So for SMBs, the mindset needs to shift. Assume credentials will be compromised at some point. Focus on limiting the damage.
How? What are the key actions?
Enforce MFA. Make it mandatory, not optional. Scrutinize logins, look for odd cookies, session keys, consider conditional access policies based on location or device health.
Rich for long passphrases, too.
Encourage long passphrases, yes. Harden your endpoints, harden your domain controllers, adopt that assume access, ready defenses posture, limit what any single compromised credential can actually reach. Least privilege.
Makes sense. Let's touch on ransomware. Still a major issue.
Still a significant threat, definitely part of that broader system intrusion pattern in the report. Though interestingly, the median ransom paid actually decreased,
Oh, by how much?
down to $115,000 in 2024 from about $150,000 the year before. And more victims are refusing to pay 64% last year.
That's a positive trend, perhaps. What about specific ransomware types or related attacks?
Well, match card infections, those scripts that steal payment card data from e-commerce checkout pages, are notable. They only make up about 1% of system intrusion breaches overall.
But they disproportionately affect payment cards.
They account for 80% of payment card breaches, often opportunistic, hitting smaller e-commerce sites, maybe ones with fewer resources. The median monthly visitors for affected sites was around 7,000.
So still impactful for those SMBs. The prevention advice here sounds familiar. Strong core security.
Strong security controls to prevent the initial system intrusion are key. Think foundational stuff like the CIS controls mentioned in the DBIR excerpt. And crucially, a solid, well-tested data recovery process.
With backups that are actually separate, isolated.
Automated backups, isolated recovery data,
Yeah.
absolutely vital. And don't forget training employees to spot and report suspicious activity. That first line of defense.
Which brings us neatly to social engineering. Business email compromise is still a huge financial drain.
Massive. Over $6.3 billion transferred due to BEC in 2024 alone. The median loss per incident is around $50,000.
Ouch. Is security awareness training helping at all?
There's encouraging news there. The report found that people who had recently completed security awareness training reported phishing emails at a rate 4 times higher than those who hadn't. So training does work when it's effective and recent.
Good to hear. But the attackers keep innovating. What's this prompt bombing?
Ah, yes. That's an emerging technique specifically designed to bypass multi-factor authentication, essentially overwhelming a user with push notification approval requests until they accidentally approve one.
So MFA isn't foolproof. What other ways are they getting around it?
Several techniques. ATM or adversary in the middle, where they intercept the login process itself. Password dumping from compromised systems. SIM swapping to hijack phone numbers used for MFA. And now, prompt bombing.
So for SMBs, the countermeasure is more training.
Comprehensive security awareness and skills training, yes. Covering these specific social engineering tactics: phishing, BEC, prompt bombing, encourage reporting.
And technical controls.
Implement SIM protection with carriers. Use time-based one-time password apps, TOTP, MFA, where possible, as they aren't vulnerable to prompt bombing in the same way. Train anyone who manages business wireless accounts about the social engineering risks there, too.
And have a plan for if BEC does happen.
Have your contacts ready. Know the procedures for reporting BEC incidents quickly to law enforcement and financial institutions. Speed matters there.
Okay, so wrapping this up, the 2025 DBIR really paints a picture of a complex landscape for SMBs. Third parties, vulnerabilities, credentials, all interconnected threats.
It's intricate. The reliance on external vendors is growing. Vulnerability exploitation is becoming more frequent, and credential theft is still foundational for many attacks. Proactive, layered security isn't optional.
So the final thought for you listening. Given this web of interconnected risks and the cleverness of attackers, what's the single most critical area your SMB should focus its cyber efforts on in the next 6 to 12 months?
Where can you achieve the biggest risk reduction? It's worth reflecting on that, maybe diving deeper into the full GVIR for insights specific to your industry or size.
Thank you for diving deep with us today. We hope this breakdown helps you strengthen your security posture.